welcome to this week's episode of Not Your Mama's Podcast. I'm excited. Our special guest today is David Allen Tracy, a personal brand coach, marketing guru, and a motivational speaker. David, it is such an honor to have you on the podcast today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it.
So, we're just going to talk about online presence and branding and kind of like getting yourself out there. So, my first question to you is, what are some simple strategies people can use to boost their online presence?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many things, and I think that the industry is constantly changing, in terms of like what algorithms are going and with AI and like this platform and what's trending and what's not trending. I think what's really important at the end of the day is a couple things. So number one is to be consistent. It's proven across the board if you're wanting to be relevant online and with social media or even blogging or podcasting or anything, you know this because you do this, is consistency. You have to be consistent. It's not going to work if you're just kind of doing it here and there and kind of loosey-goosey. The consistency is what all the algorithms love. And I
Yeah.
think the big mistake that people make is they kind of just dip their toe and they don't really commit. You really have to commit and have consistency. And in turn, the algorithms love you. And as long as you keep doing it and you persevere, you will get traction.
Now, to kind of piggyback off that, consistency is key, 100%. How can people best manage to stay consistent online? And like, what are some little tips and tricks that someone can do so that they're always showing up? Because yes, the algorithm wants people on the platform, using the platform. And if you're one of the reasons why people are on the platform to view you, then like there's quote unquote like value and the algorithm will promote you. So what are some things that like a busy mom can do to like stay with that consistent schedule? Because I also have a hard time with it. Like I need help. Like you can't do it all. It's a full-time job to be consistent online, relevant content and things like that.
Well, I think for many people, and I have a lot of clients that are moms and they're busy moms. And the biggest thing is that the most valuable asset for you is your time.
Yeah.
And so often when you finally get that little wiggle room, that little moment to breathe, like the last thing you want to do is create content. The last
Yeah.
thing you want to do is the marketing stuff. So what I do tell people is it's kind of like going to the gym where we know that for many people, it needs to be a set thing. They set the alarm, they get up in the morning, they go. That's not really realistic for a lot of people with busy schedules, though. So what I say to people is for busy moms, take a half day where maybe the kids are being watched or something and create all of your content in that half day. If you can't do all of it in that half day, plan it out. Maybe the first half day is spent just kind of planning the type of content you'd like to do, whether
Mm.
that be reels or photos or whatever it is, blogging. Then the next time you take a half day, then you can start to do it. Get your outfits ready, get your little selfie, light pod up, get your
Yeah.
phone, and just maybe get a girlfriend in and start going for it and spend half day doing it. So then you create your content. Then spend the next time where you have a half day scheduling it all out. So that's on automatic pilot.
Yeah.
So basically, if you can get to yourself to where you're a month ahead in content, where it's just playing and it's doing its thing and you don't have to think about it,
Yeah.
like that's where you have peace of mind because you're going to get interrupted all the time as a parent. I have four daughters
Yeah.
and my wife is busy. She's a homeschool mom.
Mhm. Yeah.
There's
It's
very
busy.
little time
Yeah.
to do these extra things. So that's what I would say is set some time aside.
Yeah. Yeah. You have to plan and you have to think about it, and you have to have like, okay, well, what do I want to post this week? What's like the target goal? And then execute it. And I also think that like don't be afraid to ask for help, like have someone that can kind of help you edit. And there's also things that like Temply and
Mhm.
like all these things that make it so much easier for you to just click the film and it puts it together, and like you have to think about like, okay, a reel is probably add more value bonus in the algorithm than like just a simple post, like you said, it's always trending and changing.
It's constantly changing, and I think that there are so many tools out there, even ChatGPT, and
Yeah.
even a lot of the fact that we can get content written and all of our hashtags done in a couple of seconds compared to having to think about how to write it all out ourselves. There's so many hacks. There's so many resources out there in terms of marketing as well that will help you to be able to do these things and that give you the insights because we just can't be aware anymore all the time of all the changes. Things change all the time technologically.
And also, as a marketing expert, what are some ways that people can stand out in the crowd? Because I know there's so many people online now, and some people will say like, "Oh, it's saturated," and or whatever. So how can people stand out and like promote their business more, their online brand, blog, whatever?
Yeah. So, I mean, there it is saturated. And today we live in a buffet society where people have access to so much variety. The way to stand out, though, is to find your niche. That's really important. And
Yeah,
so we can't be everything for everyone. It's impossible. We literally can't. We would
yeah,
like to have as many clients as we can have, or as many, followers or whatever it is. But it really is about finding your niche. Now, how do you find your niche? Number one, you have to know yourself. So, what is your authentic self? Who are you? What do you bring? What's unique about you? What's the unique facet, your unique point of view? And what kind of people resonate with that? Who are your avatars? If you can understand your avatars and what the way they think, and maybe you can talk with some of those, we all have them in our communities. Hey, what would you like to see? And what would resonate with you? And what are your felt needs? If we can create authentic content and put that out there as from a personal branding standpoint, highly effective because it's better to be a micro influencer
hmm,
at the end of the day and have some momentum happening than to have this a macro goal, which is a little bit out of touch. But it's been proven that if you focus on the micro influencing first and
hmm,
hitting your niche market, you will grow.
yeah.
And as long as you have that consistency, you're going to grow your following and all the things. So,
I love that. So, before we dive into our next segment, is there anything else you'd like to sprinkle on top of the conversation or a takeaway?
I think personal branding, because that's what I do, right? I own a marketing agency, but the thing is like marketing a business is a little different than marketing an individual.
Hmm.
Marketing an individual, we have a lot of insecurities, we have a lot of blind spots, we have a lot of things that get in the way from us being like, well, who am I anyway, right? So my tagline as a personal brand coach is you want the world to know who you are, but do you know who you are? So it's so important to really kind of go introspective and to really discover yourself before you start to go outward because man you're gonna run into some issues. People are gonna see right through you, and we don't want to come across as inauthentic. We also don't want to burn out. We have to know
Yeah.
our limitations and our strengths, and so I do tell people as a personal brand coach, we're always going to go introspective.
Yeah. Yeah. That's point. Yeah. People can sense if you're like unauthentic, you know what I mean? Like it comes through. So, that was nice. So it is time for the PowerMom Chronicles segment. And David, I cannot wait to dive into your answers. And my first question to you is, what's a game-changing lesson life has taught you?
That life is short, majorly. I've had cancer twice, and I've been, really, really sick numerous times in my life as a result. And man, we like suck the marrow out of life and take everything you can from it and live it and experience things, take risks. Don't be shy. Don't waste your time watching Netflix all day when you have free time. Like
Yeah.
apply yourself, like take rest, of course. I'm not just talking like, but like we need to understand we don't have that much time in this world. I'm 38. In two
Yeah.
years, I'll be 40. I'm not that old. I have four kids, but man, how much time flew by in the last 8 years. When I hit 30, I wouldn't never have thought that in 2 years I'd be 40. Like it just goes like that.
It
So
does.
we got to take advantage. That's one thing that's taught me.
Well, and our health is our wealth, like, I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease too. And it's just kind of like, then sometimes you have to reflect, like, okay, this isn't happened to me, it happened for me. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And what am I learning through this? And, it definitely shows like resistance and strength, when you go through like also like challenging things and helps you put, life and like your journey into perspective. So I love that answer. And also reflecting on your journey, what practical lessons or insights can our listeners apply to improve their own lives?
Yeah. So take time for yourself. Really important as well. So as much as we want to suck the marrow out of life and want to create and produce, we also need to understand that, like you said, our health is our wealth. So it's finding what's going to ground you and allow you to thrive and not just survive. For me, I've been really bad at this. Full transparency, really bad at this throughout my life. I've always put myself in the back burner. I put others, my clients and business first.
Mhm.
But this year, I made a decision that I'm not doing that anymore. And every day, without fail, I spend an hour and a half working out, going for a walk, or going for a run, or doing something physical outdoors that really keeps me grounded because in that time, I'm able to process and think and decompress and de-stress. Super important.
Yeah. And offer a piece of wisdom for moms or anyone really striving to find their strength and voice.
I think this is a hard thing for a lot of mothers, especially because oftentimes your voice is on behalf of your children. They are your avatar per se.
Mhm.
And so you can maybe at one point you had a career, you went to university, you had whatever it was, and then you get married and then you have kids or whatever your story is, you have kids. And all of a sudden those kids become the world that your entire reality revolves around. And you love it. No one wants to change that. However, and you put yourself, the kids are always first. And so a couple of things that I think is really important for mothers is to make sure that they also get some time for themselves with people who keep them reminding who they are. Because when you're waking up in the morning and you're covered with like baby vomit and like a little bit, all the different fluids and you didn't sleep through the night and you're alone all day long because the way that goes, it you can kind of really like, well, who am I anymore, right?
Yeah.
So there are people in your life, we all have them, who are those kind of pillars who remind us of who we really are. Go on a date, go get out with
Mhm.
them, go get it, whatever it is, go out to eat, go to coffee, whatever it is, and kind of center yourself in those moments. I think it will really help you to remember that you're still more than just a mom.
Yeah. And I love that. And the best advice you've ever received.
That is so hard to think about because there's been so many things. But one thing that I learned the hard way. So a long time ago, when I was pretty young, I think I was 17 or 18, a person told me invest in property. And I was like, yeah, no, I'm too young. I'm not going to do that. And the property that at the time that I was looking that they were saying I should invest in now is like 5 times, 6 times more in value than it was then. And I'm like, goodness gracious. We all know, like, the economy changes and life changes and there's so much circumstance. But if you can invest in property, do it
Mhm.
because it's going to set you up really well in the long run. Now, this has nothing to do with marketing. It has nothing to do with personal branding. It does have to do, though, with most of us, our careers and what we're doing. We're trying to build up something so that we have ease of life later, and then we also have something to inherit to our children. And
Yeah.
so property is where it's at.
Yeah, true. Yeah, the how people generate wealth most in this world is through property ownership, 100%. And they say that like the average American does have about like $200,000 worth of equity in their home, like minimum, you know what I mean? So
Mhm,
it
mhm.
definitely is a very lucrative thing. And like you said, you can pass it on generationally too, and it's always a great time to buy. It's always now.
Right?
It's always now.
Always.
Yeah. Anyway, well,
Exactly.
David, thank you so much for coming on this week's episode of Not Your Mama's Podcast. All of his links are down below in the show notes. Don't be shy, go say hi, and I hope to see you all in the next one. Thanks for listening.